At the ages of 9, I was molested and raped by a man for a year. And that did a lot of damage to me because I was only 9 years old, you know what I mean? And I was bullied a lot in school, and I just couldn't make any friends, and no one liked me, and all these different little things. So like it shut my whole world out. And because of that, I started having seizures. Kids would make fun of me because of my seizures, which caused me just to continue to go on a downhill slope. I eventually started hating life. I started hating God. I started just cursing and hating everybody. By the age of 10, I attempted my first suicide attempt. During ages of 11, 12, and 13, I was continuously in and out of mental hospitals, constantly, threatening to kill myself, was constantly cutting myself. It was just tragic because I couldn't have friends. I just couldn't fit in. Wasn't good enough, or I wasn't this. And so that just played with my young mind, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just sucked. By ages of 13, we moved houses and moved into Littleton. I ran into a bad small group of kids that smoked weed and cigarettes, and I got myself involved in that because it felt good. I wanted to be part of the cool kids or the bad kids, or you know what I mean? Somewhere that I thought I fitted in, you know? And so I just couldn't make friends, man. Started joining the wrestling team. That was cool, just continuously, again, still in and out of hospitals. Between the ages of 15 and 16, I got sent to multiple like little rehab things or clinics. Went to one in San Diego, got kicked out of there. Went to the one in Utah, which was a wilderness program. I was still causing trouble in there, ran away, and like anything I tried to do to try to quote unquote help myself just turned bad. Like, all the time. I was constantly like verbally abusive to my family. I would constantly bicker with my mom. I've had to be restrained multiple times because of my aggression. I'm punching trees, punching walls, punching holes in my wall, just causing massive amounts of mischief. And because I started getting high, I'm starting to steal stuff and unlock cars, air out their tires, just do a whole bunch of bad things, you know what I mean? Made honor roll, joined the wrestling team, played football, swam during the summer, continued to stay in sports, but I just wasn't happy. Didn't want nothing to do with anybody, didn't nothing want to do with my family. Sophomore year, I dropped out of high school, went to several different other little schools to try to get back on track, and got kicked out of those. I wasn't doing it, so then I officially dropped out, and that was that. On May 11th, 2017, my mom went to go take my sister to school, and my buddies was with me. We just got done smoking weed and stuff, and I told him, I looked at him and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go kill myself, bro. And my mom went to go take her to school and gave me enough time. I ran down in the basement. I already had cord braided and ready to go. Tied the noose and went in, and I remember looking back at my friend and was like, hey, this is it, bro, I'm done. And like, he didn't even budge, didn't care. And I kicked the ladder from underneath myself and I died. My mom came back, and my little sister, who's 5 years younger than me, came back, opened the garage, and I'm hanging from the rafters. And my mom, I can't even tell you how she felt. She cut me down, cried to the neighbors, and the neighbors called the ambulance and stuff, and got to the hospital. I was 8 minutes legally dead. No brain recovery, no heart, nothing. And so I was on, in the ICU. They had to like put these machine on you to like try to bring your brain back and your heart back. And they had a machine on my heart to keep it beating. And then I finally woke up, and I was pissed. I was pissed that I lived. I was so mad. Like, I wanted nothing. I wanted everything. I was like, finally my misery's gone. And instead, I got to live. And I was pissed out about it. By this point, I've already started experiencing with meth. And from some buddies of mine. And after I got out of the hospital, I stayed like a week in Denver Health. It was like a mental institute. Also later on that year, I found out that I had 2 more siblings, Cowie and Ali'i. And that's how I got in contact with my dad for the first time. I ripped him a new one for just leaving me high and dry most of my life and leaving me with abandonment issues and, not having my dad in my life, Cowie and Lily, I got to hang out with them for a little bit, and then their mom disowned me because of what I've been through in my past. So I got pushed out of their lives. So like, just life was just horrible. After the hospital, I continued to do meth and do any drug that I could possibly get entwined with. I've done acid, shrooms, Molly, ecstasy, DMT, PCP, you know what I mean? You name it, I've done it, heroin. And so, I've done all those and just continued to do meth. By the age of 18, my mom was like, hey, either you're going to do this or you're not. I chose to go to the streets. I started off in my own little neighborhood for a little bit, and after that, I moved on to downtown. I was just a straight fiend. I would do anything other than sell my body to get high. You know what I mean? I didn't care what weather it was. I didn't care this or that. I just wanted to be high. And at that time, I was shooting meth. I'd never really smoked it, so I used an IV needle and just put massive amounts of dope into my veins. And throughout all that, just continue to I'd hurt people, man. I was, there's a dude that looked at me wrong, and I took my skateboard trucks and hit him over the back of the head, and then whipped out a baton and just beat his head in until he finally walked off the block. And I said, bro, if you ever come back, I'll kill you. And I meant it. And I seen him again, and he was like, hey, you remember me? I was like, yeah. He's like, this is from you. And he had a scar from his forehead to the back of his head that hair can't grow back because he had to get surgery. And I was like, yeah, and you should leave. You know what I mean? Before that happens again. And I just became, because I hated life so much and that I lived, I became very violent. You look at me wrong or you do me dirty, I'm coming after you. I've been pistol whipped, I've been robbed, I've been beaten up in my sleep, I've been stabbed, I've been this, and that. You know what I mean? My scars on my face are from a bottle. I've had a Molotov cocktail thrown at me, and so, just because I've been through all these things and people out to get me, I was out to get them. I was bloodthirsty. And, that's the scariest part, is just knowing that you have that inner demon in you. You know what I mean? That you have that much hate and that much anger that you're willing to take someone else's life for it. And by God's grace, no one was smart enough to give me a gun because I was freaking crazy on drugs. My mom would come see me once a week and take me out for a hot meal, give me hand warmers, clothes. And then I tried to push her away. I was like, Mom, I'm your son's dead. My name's Tweak. Don't call me Ty. Don't call me your son. I don't want you ever to see me again. And then she's like, boy, you're my baby boy, and I'm not going anywhere. And that for me, that hit it. I couldn't. I just broke down crying because I didn't know. What do you do with that? Just showing that I've given her every reason to give up on me, and she hasn't. Continued on the streets. I lived with my buddy Trouble in his garage with his family and just continued to get high and steal from people, steal cars. And then eventually I started selling drugs. And then I started doing heroin. And next thing I know, I'm shooting up anything that could liquefy and go in my veins. Coke, Molly, meth. I would mix them all together, whatever. I just didn't care. I never OD'd on heroin, thankfully. I've gotten really close. But it's been, it was rough. I know what it's like to have nothing, no clothes. And then when you're homeless, everyone looks at you like you're a freaking alien and doesn't care whether you live or die. You know what I mean? You could ask for help and no one cares. You know what I mean? And so I've been on both sides of the track. I know what it's like to have some stuff, and I definitely know what it's like not to. And, it just sucked. It was horrible. Eventually, I finally got locked up in November of 2019, and I thought I was done. Ended up getting back out, and I wasn't done. I lived at home, tried to work a job for a little bit, but I got right back in with the wrong people, which led to me getting high again. The difference about me when I fell off this time is I didn't get as high. Instead, I just sold good amount of drugs. You know what I mean? And because I sold good amount of drugs, I just kept the money flow and went and sold drugs, and then I would sleep every night, go eat some real food. And because of that, I just slept every night. I was so done. I was tired of having to look over my shoulder all the time. Like, that's no fun. It's no fun whether you're gonna get killed in your sleep or whether you're gonna have anything next to you when you wake up. You know, it's petrifying, bro. And you know, you're gonna get cold when it rains, and you're gonna freeze when it snows, and you don't have no warm place to go. You know, you don't have no dry clothes to put on afterwards. You don't have nothing. And because I moved so much, all I had was what was in my backpack, and sometimes I didn't even have those. You know, so I was constantly just in misery. I've gotten pistol whipped, you know. Dude came up to the car and was like, hey, I need everything. And like after that, that's when I told my mom, I was like, I'm gonna kill this dude. I'm done. I'm gonna kill this dude. And she was just like, no, Ty, don't do that to yourself, you know? And then so, you know, it continued, and then finally, eventually, April 25th of 2020, I finally got re-locked up. Some dude randomly called the cops on me, and I was kind of like in a conversation with him, like, man, I'm ready to be done. And just out of God's grace, he's like, you're ready to be done, and got me locked up, which is where I needed to be. You know, that's how I see it. Is God was like, I'm going to have this random dude call the police on him so he can go to jail, so he can be safe, so his mom's heart is at ease, you know? And so I sat in Douglas for like about a week, and just, you know, I attempted to try to take my own life. I tried to take the towel and choke myself out. And I really didn't want to die, but I was just so done, and so hurt and so mad at myself that I didn't, you know, I was just done. I threw in the towel. And so then they transferred me to Jefferson County Jail, and that's where everything changed. Ended up in a pod with a guy that I didn't like, and ended up getting a fight and got kicked out of there, and moved to another pod where I met my boy Trivy. You know, I just got out of a fight. I'm just like a hot mess. And I seen how he worked out, and then he led a prayer circle one night, and he had a prayer circle about forgiveness, and in that moment I lost everything. I just broke down crying, and he came up to me. He's like, what's going on, my bro? I was just like, I'm hurting, bro. Like, I need help. And I went up to them in the mob closet and was like, hey, bro, how do I do this? Like, how do I forgive? Like, how do I talk to God about this? Like, I feel so ashamed and so shameful. Like, what do I do? Because I've had a hardened heart my whole life of just hate and anger. And like every other emotion was numb to me. I was so mad at God. And like anytime my mom said that he loved me, I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way. Look what everything I've gone through. How does he love me? So then I try to find it in other people, and then I try to find it in drugs. But my heart's always been looking to fill that void. But I couldn't come to myself to reason that God was it. So I've looked everywhere but, and the only last place I didn't look was God. And then when I heard that I was forgiven, and I've heard it before, but like there's a certain season, certain things hit. You know what I mean? And then to hear that I'm forgiven for hurting other people, for taking other people's car when maybe they had to take someone to the hospital, almost killing people, taking their stuff, getting high, disrespecting my family, and the people he told me that I'm supposed to be obedient to and I haven't, and told me that I'm still loved just as much and no less, turns everything. It's like, how? It's because he loves you that much. And when he took my heart and turned it to flesh, man, it was just like transforming, allowing me to feel things again, allowing me not to be numb, allowing me not to hate. But he showed me who I had to forgive because it's holding me back. Yeah, you're forgiven, but make that first step of faith. That's faith right there, forgiving other people, because then you're forgiven. And like knowing that I'm forgiven and that's one thing that's asked of me, what do I have to lose? Okay, I'll take that step. And everything changed. I don't hate the man that molested me no more. I pray for him. I want him to have a healthy, better life. The same reason why Jesus wants me to have a better life, because I'm forgiven. That's how love works. And that's the most impactful thing in my life. I found everything that I was looking for in an instant. Instantaneous. I was consumed. I felt worthy. I felt full. I felt satisfied. For once. All because I surrendered my life to Him. And that just comes to show that you can chase anything in this world, and you will find always emptiness. You could be a millionaire, still won't be satisfied. There's always that certain longing for something deeper, and there's nowhere to find it but in God and in faith. And people have faith twisted. Like, they don't have an understanding of what it is. Religion outside of like Christianity is like, you have to do this, this, and this, and then you'll be saved. To where God's like, Christianity's like, bro, just come here, son. Come here. Let me give you a hug. Let me love you. Let me take care of you. Here, your heart's full now. You're filling with the Holy Spirit. You're overflowing, bro. Your cup is full. Like, from that point on, as soon as that day on, I became on fire for the Lord. I wanted to know more. I was hungry. I was hungry for what He had to say. I was hungry to learn. I was hungry to hear and listen. And like, ever since that Forgive Me piece, bro, it was over, bro. I heard it and something turned in my heart and I lost it. I don't know what it was about the Bible. He said, you need to get in it and you need to start reading, bro. If you want to grow in this, start. And He said, start in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the 4 Gospels. So I started reading, and I read the Psalms and I read the Proverbs, and slowly but surely God would show me new things. And He would speak to me through them. You know, what He did through Paul. You know, like my best friend Trivy, he was my Paul in my life. The man became a role model for me in every aspect of just showing me what it means to be a godly man, show me what it is to dive in the Word, what to look for, how to break down the Scriptures, how to apply it to my life, how to step on my own 2 feet and represent the man upstairs, you know. And then eventually I started working out with him, and the next thing I know, I'm eating dinner with him every night, every meal, and just spending more and more time with him and learning from him and learning through God and allowing the transformation to happen, you know. Next thing I know, I'm leading prayer circles. The next thing I know, I'm leading worship. And the next thing you know, I'm writing my own poetic little things about my life. And next thing I know, I'm praying over people in the pod. And next thing I know, I'm sitting dudes who are pagan down and having Bible study and speaking life into them when they had every reason to go against me, in which they did. And they tried to, and I continued to show and pursue, and God pierced their heart, man. And so my role was, how can I push this message out? Who can I go talk to? How can I be an example on a prison yard? So that was my role. And because of that role, I touched several people's hearts. I changed a 44-year-old man's heart because I was just used as a tool. He's like, bro, I've never had like a 22-year-old change my life before. Not me, bro. I'm just a tool. And because I had the willingness to be a tool, God played. He's like, I bet. Let's do this, son. I was the nail and He's the hammer. You know, because He's putting that force through me to implement and to pursue whatever needs to be done.